Let me call the meeting of June 1st, 2021 to order, and I'm going to request the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Weissman.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Friedland.
Here.
Commissioner Landman.
Here.
Commissioner Narodsky.
Present.
Commissioner Shelley.
Yeah.
Mr. Wasson.
Here.
And Mr. Wolfen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask that all the members of the Youth Advisory Committee please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Can we all rise? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I think that's the fastest we ever said it.
It was the speed pledge.
It certainly was. I'm going to ask the city manager if there are any additions or deletions to the published agenda.
No, Mayor, there is not.
Okay. Is Scott Dudley here? Scott, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Masks make it so hard. We have a very special presentation tonight from a very special gentleman that I've come to know over the past 5 or 6 years. Most of the time of his time is spent in Tallahassee, particularly during legislative session. He analyzes over 1,000 bills because we have a proclivity, if we're in the state legislature, to write hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bills that basically go nowhere, but they're written and they have to be analyzed. And we get a weekly report from Scott every week of session, giving us the highlights of the bills, which ones impact cities, communities, which one impact education, and it's some of the most thorough work that I've seen. So I'm delighted to welcome you to Aventura. And I'm delighted that you're here, and he's here representing the Florida League of Cities and Florida League of Mayors, and he's making a presentation to the If I Were a Mayor third place winner. So Scott, if you can come up.
Thank you, Mary. I'm not sure which protocol. Can I take my mask off while I'm here? Thank you very much, Mayor, and members of the commission. I'm Scott Dudley. I'm with the Florida League of Cities. I also am the executive director of the Florida League of Mayors. I'm actually here to make 2 presentations tonight to both the Youth Advisory Council as well as
Good.
the League of Mayors. I want to thank you on behalf of the League of Cities for everything that you all sitting on the commission that you do, for the city manager, for the city clerk. It's hard work. We very much appreciate it. It's true public service, and we really, really appreciate it. We could not do our jobs in Tallahassee without you all doing what you do. Thank you. And I want to correct you on one thing you said. You talked about the highlights of the session. I would suggest to you that they're mostly lowlights. If I may just correct you on that. I'm sure you really understand what's going on in Tallahassee. Lots of attacks on home rule regularly, and you all know that very helpful.
Could you explain that? Because we do have our youth advisory group here.
Happy to do that. So home rule is essentially what we sort of boiled down to local decision making. Is in the Constitution, the citizens in 1968 put into the Constitution that cities ought to have the right to make decisions that are best for their citizens instead of having everything go through the legislature. It used to be if you wanted to change your growth plan or if you wanted to change some sort of ordinance in your city, you had to go through the legislature. That's the rule. We switched it to, in 1968, citizens switched it to home rule, and it meant that many different things that home rule affects. So home rule is vital to understanding the way that cities are supposed to be run. These folks up here are super responsive to you. I'll bet many of you don't know who your state legislator is or your member of Congress. You may know their name, but you probably don't see them out and about very much. And I can tell you that this session in particular, interestingly enough, the Capitol was closed all during session, and then the last day of session, magically, they opened it on the last day so that they could finally, have the wives and spouses and all that kind of stuff come in for legislators. But they didn't want the general public in, so they didn't want our input. So kind of gives you a sense of where things are going in Tallahassee. So that's kind of a brief summary of that. So thank you for that, Mayor. Appreciate that. So one of the really cool things I get to do, besides analyzing bills and writing every week during session, which is actually kind of a passion of mine, I'm kind of fanatic about it, is I get to visit with city officials, but I also get to, in my role as League of Mayors, the executive director of League of Mayors, we run a contest every year called If I Were Mayor. And I can tell you that, sorry about that, I'm proud to be here today to present a certificate and a cash award and a plaque to the winner, the third place winner for the Florida League of Mayors If I Were Mayor contest, Leah Avedon, and I don't know if I'm going to say that right. Can I ask one of you all to take a picture? Do you mind? Let me get a photo here. Modern technology, not my friend. There you go. So Leah, here's your plaque, and you did a great job. And Leah talked about in her, which you're going to do this one, all right? Let's get the council behind it. There you go. Great, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, okay. Thanks. So Leah talked about in her, and you stay here for a second if you don't mind. Don't run away. Don't be scared. So she talked about a lot of really interesting. Your paper was very well written. She talked about school safety, neighborhood safety, resiliency. A lot of really important issues. Like this was kind of a weighty paper on it. Some people, if I were mayor, I'd give ice cream to everybody. Well, Leah did not go down that path. She really hit some serious issues, and you should be really, really proud of yourself for doing that. And we're really honored to be able to present you that plaque and the gift certificate here. And thank you very much. Mayor, I'm also here tonight in the capacity of for the League of Cities. As you know, we have youth advisory councils across the state, and I'm here also to give an award to one of your own that won a $1,000 gift certificate for as a member of the Aventura Advisory Board, being selected for the Council to College Scholarship. It's an essay contest that assists Florida's municipal youth leaders who are pursuing post-high school education. It was open to all of Florida's youth councils across the state, and it was extremely competitive, as it always is. And we asked the following question. We asked the student to describe the most impactful experience that they've had on the youth council and how it has helped prepare them for college or technical career. She talked about her work with Gabriella Sartan, talked about her work with the Parks and Recreation Department or summer care program, and just did a fantastic job with that. And so we're proud tonight to offer her a $1,000 scholarship, and also could I ask, you did such a great job on it. You're now officially. Thank you. You want?
There we go.
Otherwise, we won't know who was giving it to, just because some random person.
Mayor, I didn't know if you wanted to proceed. I messed up with the previous. I wasn't sure if you wanted them to have an opportunity to say something or not or whatever, but that's your call, not mine. So, thank you.
Would you like to come up and say something? You don't have to, okay? I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Gabby will come up, but would you like to come up and say something? No? Yes? She's good. Okay. Gabby? Maybe you'll want to come up after Gabby. And you can take your mask down.
Oh, perfect. Hi. Okay, so I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, I've been on the board for 4 years, for all 4 years of high school. It was first created when I was a freshman, and I didn't know the absolute oceans of opportunities that this board has brought to me. I was able to branch off from the board and work as an intern, as a volunteer in the government center and in the Parks and Recreation Center. And through my experience, I've just talked, helped, met so many different new people that I've just gotten such a wealth of knowledge from that I don't know how I'll ever be able to repay that debt for, the experience I've been granted as part of the board. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. There's just some innumerable experiences that I've written about in my college essays, not just this essay, but my college essays. They all come back to the advisory board. And, working with the summer care program and everything, volunteering with Kimberly at the government center, it all comes back to me being on this board. And I just want to thank you. Thank you so much. This is absolutely unforgettable, and thank you.
And I will remind everyone that come August, September, Gabby will be at Columbia University. Okay, I haven't seen our representative, so I'm going to go on, and when he comes in, which he will, we'll go back. Who's laughing? Some of us know him well. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Youth Advisory Board presentation on the Trader Joe project. So Gabby, your group, I'm going to ask you, and I'm so glad you're going to be here listening, Scott. It's really exciting for us.
Oh, it's good.
Hello. We are the Youth Advisory Board for the City of Aventura. Our goal for this year was to create a campaign to acquire a Trader Joe's location in Aventura. We are so excited to be here today and have the opportunity to speak with you.
The three closest Trader Joe locations near Aventura consist of Davie, Pembroke Pines, and Fort Lauderdale stores. All of these locations are over 30 minutes unnecessarily long, adding another layer of challenge for those who live in Aventura who want affordable, healthy, and delicious food from Trader Joe's. As you can see, the current Trader Joe's location each have a population per square miles under 5,000. As our city mainly expands upwards, our population per square mile is an astonishing 13,000, meaning Aventura would bring in more customers at a closer radius.
We created a Google form that was distributed to Aventura residents with the help of social media and schools. We also reached out to some condominiums located in Aventura and asked them to pass on the survey to their residents. By doing so, we were able to learn about the shopping lifestyles of residents of Aventura and surrounding neighborhoods. 574 Aventura residents were reached to retain data on Trader Joe's. 42.7% of our inhabitants visit the Davie location, approximately 40 minutes away from their home. Based on the data we collected from random citizens, the average Aventura resident goes to Trader Joe's 1 to 3 times per month. If Trader Joe's was closer to home, 50% of survey respondents would visit bi-weekly or more. Trader Joe's would be a huge hit here, and business will not be a disappointment.
We wanted to include a couple quotes from Aventura residents to show you just how eager they are to have a Trader Joe's location in Aventura. One person even said, if there was a Trader Joe's in Aventura, my 3 times per year frequency would become 52 times per year. Trader Joe's would do amazing in Aventura because most residents would actually drop their current primary grocery store for the Trader Joe's, generating an insane amount of foot traffic and therefore profit. One person said, because I would shop there a lot more if it were closer to me, I would shop less at Whole Foods and more at a Trader Joe's. Please bring Trader Joe's to Aventura. It would do amazing in the area.
We created an Instagram account at Aventura for Trader Joe's to see how the public would react to this news that Trader Joe's might come to Aventura. And the response we have received is nothing but excitement. The comments are encouraging, ecstatic, and grateful. As you can see, people of Aventura are desperate to have Trader Joe's nearby so they can no longer have to trek 30 plus minutes to the nearest location. We have received DMs and various comments under our posts like this one. We try to have a question after each post to keep the residents engaged. Now for a more data approach. Our local mall generates about $58 million in profit per year with 28 million visitors per year. The suggested Trader Joe's location is immediately off the causeway connected to the mall, enabling more easy access for traveling customers. It is also accessible to those that live in neighboring cities, such as Golden Beach, Sunny Isles, Ogis, and Highland Lakes. But we'll get more into that later.
Aventura would be the perfect spot for a Trader Joe's, unlike any other, because we have a highly populated, wealthy, and young demographic that most cities in Florida don't have. We are a community-based city that prioritizes wellness. Our entire town planning is even based off of a 3-mile exercise circle. Trader Joe's aligns with our values perfectly, and therefore would generate an insane profit here. Additionally, Aventura is easily accessible through the Lehman Causeway and Ives Dairy to Golden Beach, Sunny Isles, Ogis, and Highland Lakes.
As per the aforementioned survey, respondents were able to give verbal responses. One such response comes from Manya Borman, who said, yes, they are amazing for low-carb eating, kids, and meal prep. This addresses the situation of the growing demand for healthy options, as well as feeding, rampant kids who want chicken nuggets all the time. Well, you can have these vegan chicken nuggets from Trader Joe's instead. In such, Trader Joe's would be great. As per another comment made by Haya Weiner, she said, I love Trader Joe's and would actually go if I had one closer to home. Great, healthy, and kosher items. Now, this pertains to the large Jewish demographic in Aventura. 63% of Aventura's total population is composed of Jewish people. And bringing a Trader Joe's here would meet a lot of those dietary requirements that are currently seldom met by our primary grocery stores here, such as Publix, Whole Foods, Fresh Market, and Winn-Dixie. Aventura also stands out among the Florida crowd because we are at the intersection of a city and a suburb. Moms go for lunch while postgrads live, work, and play in the same shopping center. Trader Joe's is ubiquitous to the demands of all demographics in Aventura.
We, the information team, laid the foundation for the rest of the team by feeding them crucial information for possible locations that align with the suggested requirements from Trader Joe's. The first would be a location where a Babies R Us used to stand. This location is approximately 30,000 square feet and has about 200 unshared parking spaces. It also has a truck drop-off area, which is one of Trader Joe's requirements. The second is a department store that, although it has more... Secondly, we have a department store. This location is in a popular shopping center and is around 35,000 square feet. Although it has more parking spaces than Babies R Us location, they are shared with the neighboring stores. Ultimately, the decision is up to Trader Joe's to determine which location suits their needs. As you can see on the map to the left, Babies R Us is located just off of the William Lehman Causeway and is on Biscayne, and therefore would attract customers traveling down US 1 or from out of town, as it is easily visible off the road. Steinmart is only a few blocks over on Biscayne. Thank you all for your time.
Do any members of the commission have any questions? Commissioner Landman.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that amazing presentation. It's so, it's so great to see all of the research and hard work that you've done. My question is, and maybe it's for the city manager, have you had the chance to be able to present this to Trader Joe's or a representative or an executive there the way that you're presenting it to us?
So while we did attempt to reach out to Trader Joe's and contact them directly in order to feed them this type of information, they're very not open with their own inner workings and would like to remain in privacy for a lot of these sorts of dealings. So we were unable to present them with this information, but hopefully in the future, we hope for a chance, if not this board, then the next cycle, to carry on our work and present this to Trader Joe's.
I was going to say to city manager, if there's any way we can, we have a big private sector community. If there's any way that we can get the students who actually did all of the work in front of, Trader Joe's, I think it would be extremely impactful. And I think the work that you've done is amazing. So thank you.
I just want to piggyback off of Gabby. So another thing that Trader Joe's, an obstruction that we face with Trader Joe's is, on top of them being private, they really do not like meetings, especially with us, because they have to be public, of course. So at the end of the day, everybody's going to have to see them and see how it all works. And they're really afraid of word breaking out, and maybe it'll obstruct their ability to perform any duty that they have, any negotiations that they have to go through. So ultimately, we are going to try our best to email our presentation to them or work on an audio recording, but we just would love the blessing of the city commission first, see the feedback from you guys, and then ultimately determine whether or not it's the way to go.
Yeah.
Commissioner Evans?
I'm very impressed indeed at your research and the way that you've approached this. I would like to say, if you need our help in any way, getting any doors open to present your stuff, we can put our heads together. I'm not saying that we can do it, but I think that the Aventura residents would be very, very excited about this prospect, extremely so. And you've answered many of the questions that they would ask, and I'm overwhelmed with how good you've done, and please call on us to help if we can, okay?
Commissioner Narotsky.
I was just going to say what Ethan was mentioning. Perhaps we can draft a letter of support and that we could all sign it, just so there's like a cover letter going out with it. That would be my suggestion.
I think what was important that Ethan said is that not every place operates in the sunshine, and there's a reason for it. As soon as somebody would know that a piece of property was of interest to whether it's a Trader Joe's or a Publix or anybody else, all of a sudden the property values go way up. So some of this is very normal, and Mr. City Manager, we'll follow up, and we'll get back to you on this. Commissioner, Vice Mayor, Dr. Linda Marks.
I just want to say to all of you, you certainly have my blessing to go forward. This is fabulous and exciting, and bless you all for doing this.
Thank you so
Thank you.
I think, Ethan, how far did you get up the corporate chain?
Well, I just want to admit something right now. I did kind of work on all this in PE, so I just clear that up right there. But I had to go pretty high up there, but ultimately it wasn't that bad.
Wait a minute, and you did, because I got word from somebody on the Trader Joe's end, do you know one of your kids actually reached people in our organization? That's how tenacious you were. You wouldn't let go till you actually got them on the phone. So, Mr. Wasson will be back with you. And anybody else? Okay, we thank you. Just absolutely amazing work. An amazing couple of weeks to do the amount of research that you were able to put off. You set a new standard for people working in the city. You've been nothing short of amazing, and that's with all your schoolwork and AP exams and everything else came up at the same time. But you managed to do it all. Just great. You really are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. We really appreciate this opportunity to share the presentation with you. And thank you for your questions as well as comments and this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I guess he's going to decide for himself when he's recognized. We're very lucky to have an update from our state representative, Joseph Geller. So, Joe, no further ado, good evening. Welcome to Aventura. Welcome home from Tallahassee. Thank God. And the mic is yours.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Attorney, Manager, Clerk. And good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone tonight. Haven't seen some of you in hours. So I have a brief report on this year's legislative session. Worst session ever. I mean, really the worst session ever. I have to say, ideas that I never thought would see the light of day were brought forward at this session. Things that were, kind of the dregs, the bottom of the barrel, things that we would count on the Senate in the old days to stop, thanks to what they call the houseification of the Senate. The Senate didn't stop them. So just a lot of really bad ideas. And let me talk about the one I think positive. We did get an appropriation for $470,000 for the city of Aventura. And let me tell you, it was not a good budget year either. I don't know why, because they're awash in Biden bucks. They said that they were going to have a $2.5 billion shortfall, and then they got $10.2 billion. So why it was still not a good session and why we still didn't get appropriations, last year, everybody's appropriations were vetoed because of COVID. So we'll see. There's still, I can't say we're out of the danger zone of possible veto of this year's appropriation, but at least we got it through both houses. And, credit also goes to our Senator, Jason Pizzo, for helping on his side. But we were pleased to get it through, but not much else happened that I can say was positive. We had a bill that said that exercising your right to free speech and peaceful protest could get you arrested if the person next to you did something wrong. We had a bill that severely restricted voting, that restricts voting by mail, that restricts early voting, and that may make it possible for the votes to be allocated on other than the basis of how people vote. We had a bill signed today on the first day of Pride Month. The governor chose today to sign the bill that bans trans kids from playing in the sport of their gender of choice, if it's, really a choice. I mean, it's such an infrequent occurrence in this state anyway. There are so few kids and they're so struggling to begin with. Just, another made-up excuse for something that didn't need to occur. We just came back from a special session on gambling. Now, I've been the ranking Democrat on our gambling committees for years. We didn't even have a gaming committee this year. Previous years, I'd served as ranking. They finally appointed one for the special session, and again, I was named as the ranking Democrat. Very little consultation. We did hear some from the tribe. The tribe made a great deal. I don't begrudge the tribe for negotiating a good deal. That was their job. The problem was who was there on behalf of us. And although I'm not particularly troubled by gaming, I think it's a choice that adults should be free to make, but there are things that come with it. You need a robust enforcement presence, and we will have some kind of a gaming commission, but not clear how much power it's going to really have and who's going to pick it. You need to be sure that you're fair to all the people who want to participate. You need to be sure that appropriate measures are taken to protect people who have a problem when it comes to gaming. And, we try to do that with a variety of things where people's willpower may not be enough, but we did not do enough to help people who have a problem with gambling. And then there's just how much money, and is it fair to the pari-mutuels? They said for weeks, this was the compact. This is it. The governor negotiated it basically in secret with the tribe. They said, this is the compact. You can't amend the compact. It's an up or down vote. You can't amend the compact. We said, but we think we could. We understand it requires the tribe to agree, but that's fine. After weeks of telling us you can't amend the compact, the morning we arrived for the special session, they presented us with an amendment to the compact. And I realized that I had just not understood what they were trying to say. When they said that, they meant, you can't amend the compact, meaning us. They could, and they did. I voted no. I wasn't happy to vote no. I would have liked to see something that would have made sense. I would have liked to see, for instance, if the former Hollywood dog track, the Big Easy, I think it's called now, would have been allowed to move to maybe the Diplomat or Margaritaville or something. That would not have been a tragedy. No, they're eliminating harness racing. They're basically just wiping it out of existence. 10,000 families in this state rely on that. They didn't care. So I voted no, because it wasn't a very good deal, not as a matter of principle at all. So I have to say, all things considered, I'm sorry to tell you, a sorry session. Very, 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 very little that was good got done. I sponsored a bill to close loopholes in our hate crime statute. Even Congress managed to pass something to, address hate crimes. I mean, for Congress to pass anything is a miracle. Congress did it. In Florida, we couldn't get a hearing in our second committee of reference on fixing the hate crime statute. I sponsor a bill on having Florida join the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. They wouldn't hear that one. I sponsor the bill to repeal the death penalty every year. No hearings. I sponsor a bill to give everybody in this audience more of a voice. I call it by the people, that would let anyone do a petition drive, not to amend the Constitution, to adopt a statute by a 50% vote with lower petition requirements. They keep making it harder and harder to get these petition drives done. They say, oh, it shouldn't go in our Constitution. And I said, okay, I've got an alternative. 10 states, famously California with Prop this and Prop that, and still they won't countenance that idea. I've had colleagues say to me, Oh, but that's our job. And I'm always tempted to say, yeah, and if you would do your job, people wouldn't want to come and pass a statute that you won't address. So I have to say to you, entering my last term, that it's been it's frustrating, but I appreciate very much the opportunity to be able to stand on the floor of the House and warn my colleagues when they're making a mistake and tell them, once again, you're going to put me in the unfortunate position of coming back here in a year and wagging my finger again, saying, I told you so. I told you this statute, like the one they just passed, to try to force private companies. Look, big tech is a problem. And I hope Washington does something about it. But for them to say they're going to force private companies to keep somebody who's talking about fomenting insurrection, about calling for violence, and they're going to force these private companies to keep that person on their site, even if what they're saying is odious? It's unconstitutional. It's called compelled speech. You know, freedom of speech means the government can't stop you. It does not mean the government's going to force you to say something or other. And I wagged my finger again, and I said, we'll be back here next year after spending probably 6 figures defending this plainly unconstitutional statute. We'll be back, and once again, you'll force me to wag my finger and say, I told you so. It is a great honor to be able to have the privilege of standing there and trying to speak out for what I view as what's right and decent and fair and compassionate. So I thank not only you, I thank every one of you that's here for the opportunity to have that great honor to be able to stand on the floor of the House and raise my voice when I see something going wrong or speak out for what we ought to do, what we should be addressing that so often we don't. I'd be happy to take any quick questions, but again, thank you for the opportunity to fill you all in.
Joe, if I might, you talk about that, and I thank you for your hard work and years of frustration, and I'm sure it's worse than we know. What do you think the biggest problem is up there in terms of year after year having this exact same scenario take place and not getting through to the powers that be, let's say, and then, like you said, you come back the next year, wag your finger? What is it? Where is the obstacle to begin with, and what can be done about that end of it?
Well, it's kind of twofold. Like I said, that National Popular Vote Interstate Compact is part of it. I had incidentally, another bill that they wouldn't hear. It's a memorial to Congress. You know, we're on the composition of the U.S. Senate. We're rapidly approaching the point where the U.S. Senate, 70% of the U.S. Senate will be elected by 30% of the people in this country, and only 30% will be elected by 70% of the people. North and South Dakota each get 2 senators, and California gets the same 2 with 40-something million people. I have this modest proposal. You can't take representation away from people. That'll never work. But my modest proposal would call for 1 bonus senator from every state with a population over 6 million. That's about to be 20. It's 19 states, so you'd have a 120-member U.S. Senate. A few of us, Bob, remember that we haven't always had 100 people in the United States Senate till in our lifetime they added Alaska and Hawaii. None of these young ladies over here would remember that, but you and I probably do. And, you know, we had 96 senators. So if we had 120 senators, just 1 extra. Not radical, it's about half and half between red and blue states, pretty close to that. What's These days, what's purple anymore is hard to tell. That's one kind of thing. The malapportionment of the United States Senate means that nothing happens in Washington. The other we're about to see. We adopted, since the last census, we adopted redistricting standards. But we've also had a change in our Supreme Court, but I believe in our Supreme Court of Florida. So we'll see as we go into the beginning of next session, early next year in January, how this state that's so closely divided on statewide elections, 3% is a landslide, 1% is typical, the state is on the knife's edge, and 2/3 of the seats in the legislature or more are Republicans. It's called gerrymandering. It's an old, time-honored tradition. In Florida, we adopted constitutional provisions to prohibit it. This will be the first full redistricting cycle that those are in place, but they're still subject to manipulation. Ask me that question when we're done with this next coming session, because that's what I would tell you is the way that that's manipulated that keeps the state firmly in the grip of one party, either party. Never a good thing.
Dr. Marks?
Joe, I just want to thank you for your absolute dedication to people. And I know you're winding down, but I can tell you that we are truly dedicated to what you've done. You leave your family every week when you have to go up to Tallahassee. You dedicate all this time. So I just want to thank you. It is extremely frustrating, and I don't see it getting easier. But you will soon be able to wag your finger when you're back in the private sector and be able to say, you guys are not doing it right, and I told you so. So we want to thank you for everything that you've done because we know how dedicated you are.
I wish you could see my smile under this mask, but let me just say this. I am nearing the end, but I'm not winding down. They're gonna keep hearing from me, like it or not, till the last day. It is a great privilege for me to be able to stand up for what I think is right. And I wouldn't trade, with all the frustration, I wouldn't trade one day of it.
Commissioner Narotsky?
I just wanted to add that, I really respect your intellect, which I really appreciate, because I disagree with a lot of what you think and a lot of what you even said tonight. But I always think it's great that you're in the room for these conversations, and it's like, I really like how you articulate everything, and I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate it, and it's, I guess, emblematic of how important it is that we could disagree but still respect one another, and I just want to note that I appreciate where you come from and the work that you do.
If I can say, and that's fair, and that's what we're supposed to be doing there, is having this intellectual exchange of ideas that sharpens things and makes sure that the right ideas get through. I spoke recently during the special session, and I happened to say, because I was talking about the fact that there really was a lot of feeling that was nonpartisan. There was a lot of concern about the compact by my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, as well as on my own. And a lot of them fell into line. And I did say to the whole body that there wasn't a single member of that body that I felt was my enemy, and that I didn't appreciate and respect who they were and who they represented and what they said, and that it broke my heart not only to see so many of the Republicans muscled into line on something they didn't think or believe, but also so many of the Democrats afraid to stand up for what they thought and knew was right. I pride myself on the fact that while I've been there, I've never made an argument that was personal. I've never attacked anybody's character or their motivation or their patriotism. I've made it a point to disagree with their ideas. And I'm a big believer in civics education. I see those fantastic young people from the Youth Advisory Board. I used to judge Silver Knights along with Commissioner Landman. And we need to strengthen our institutions in this country, and we need to find a way to work together. And it saddens me that so much of what we do where I am is not based on who's intellectually correct and what can be argued. The impacts that I've had tend to be around the edges of things. I've seen bills amended. I have colleagues who call to try and make sure I'm not going to attack them in committee pretty frequently. We have to respect each other, and we have to respect the process, and we have to respect our institutions. That's what makes us a great democracy. And anytime we stop doing that, we put that democracy at risk, regardless of where you stand on this bill or that bill or the other bill. So I appreciate your remarks.
Commissioner Evans?
Yeah, I think you're probably on the same wavelength that I am, actually, on all these things. And I want to thank you for fighting against a stone wall sometimes, where logic, humanity, and just decent communication is forfeited in order to be a member of a team that has ideals that aren't, I don't think, healthy for the state. And I really appreciate all the work you've done, and you haven't given up one iota, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't have you leave here without saying a few words. I mean, you and I have had a relationship. We know each other since before this commission. You mentored me, you helped me get up here. And like everyone said, you stand for what you believe in. You fight hard. You may not win all the time, a lot of times, but you go to sleep knowing that you tried your best. And I think that is, that's a true role model. And we're so thankful that you fight for our city, for our community, for our children. And, we thank you for all of your years of service. I know we're going to hear from you, whether you're not in this House of Representatives, you're going to be somewhere else trying to make a difference, and we appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Denise. Thank you. I know you a long time.
Okay. All right, with that said, Representative, we thank you. I thank you for always being there for us, for doing the hard work and just getting on the plane. It's hard work going up to Tallahassee. It's been very hard work. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
I just want to say that it's a special honor for me to be here with Scott Dudley tonight. He's fought so long and so hard to defend the rights of our cities, which is a battle we face every day up there. I'm always telling my colleagues that they have to remember that the same people who had the wisdom to send them to Tallahassee are the same people who elected their local government officials and did so with every bit as much thought and wisdom. And I always try to remind them that no matter what they think, they don't get any smarter when they walk into that Capitol building. So happy to be here with Scott and happy to be here with all. Yes,
Joe. I think Commissioner Friedland wanted to say something.
Oh, okay, great.
Hi, Representative. I'm sorry I'm not there in person today with everybody, but I have spent many weeks with you in Tallahassee and watched you debate on the floor as one of the strongest debaters with one of the strongest voices for our city and our area and our entire state. I want to say thank you for all you do. And I know that sometimes there's been an analogy that it's like hitting your head against a wall when you're up there because you're so in the minority sometimes. But thank you for still sticking up for everyone's rights. And again, whatever side we're on, I think that sometimes there are some decisions that are being made that aren't necessarily in the right of all people regardless. But I know that you're fighting for people, and I know you're not going away for another 2 years. So we hope to see you up there again soon.
Thank you very much, and nice to see you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, thank you. Next on our agenda, we have Dr. Anthony Tricala to give us the report on ACEs.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Commission. So typically I would have a student come up and present, but I haven't had an opportunity to speak to you about our summer learning opportunities, so I wanted to make sure I took the time to do that. But first, let me again congratulate Leah, who is with us, who won the third place in the mayor contest for the essay, and also Ms. Loredana Coyote, her civics teacher, is here as well with her. So we've had a lot of amazing things happening recently, including our 5th grade egg drop, where students have an innovative lesson where they try something, they drop an egg from the roof, and they get to go rebuild it and see if they can make a capsule that will have the egg survive the fall. We had a district-wide recognition for our math program usage. Developing our incoming kindergarten academic profiles actually started today, which is really exciting to see these students coming into their school for the first time ever, and we're going to continue that all week and into the summer. Our robotics team has received several honors, and we're instituting a program where we're going to partner with Code Ninjas, a local company who will help us take our robotics program to the next level. We had an amazing Shark Tank competition sponsored by the Aventura Marketing Council, and our upcoming 8th grade moving up ceremony next week at the Turnberry Resort, which we're so excited to partner with them. They've been so supportive in making that happen as an indoor, in-person event, and we're really excited to be able to celebrate with them. But to talk about our Summer Bridge program, it's going to include enrichment instruction in reading, writing, and math, with a focus on closing learning gaps as we bridge the 2020-21 school year with 21-22. Students who have performed at or below grade level have received personal invitations, along with all of our special education and English language learner students. So far, over 60% of them have committed to coming to our Summer Bridge program. Starting today, we invited all students who wanted to participate after we already solidified those initial numbers. Everybody who wants to learn during the summer will have an opportunity to do so in person at ACES. For those who do not want to or cannot come in person, we're focusing only on those who are below grade level or a part of our special populations, and we will make individual accommodations for them through Zoom or instructional programming. So again, all students, regardless of ability, will be able to learn. It'll be an 8:30 to 12:30 session. We're partnering with YMCA to do after-school camp for those parents that want to take advantage of that option. We're also focusing on acceleration courses for those students who are borderline into getting into our advanced courses in middle school. We're trying to push students who typically wouldn't take advanced courses into that by giving them instruction during the summer in whatever courses would help them in math, science, and foreign language. Lastly, we're going to continue to provide important mental health services throughout the summer. Those things have increased so greatly, where we went from 1 counselor to 3 counselors this school year. We will continue to employ 3 counselors, and we're forcing parents to make sure they are meeting with us via Zoom all summer long, whether it's for family counseling or individual student counseling, because as we have all seen throughout the pandemic, those needs have increased greatly. We're really excited about these summer opportunities. We're building stronger connections with our parents every single day because of the challenges of COVID, and we're going to continue that in 2021-22. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Shelley.
Doctor, what do you attribute most of the special needs for all this extra help? Is it only the pandemic, or are there other dynamics that are causing some of these needs?
So I would separate them. For the mental health, it's been a need for a long time. It actually was given to us by the state 3 years ago, where we had a mental health counselor, but the increase has definitely been because of the pandemic, I believe. I don't believe it will go away when the pandemic's over, but the increase is definitely a result of the pandemic.
So it has had that much of an emotional impact on these kids?
Absolutely. The difference between a student who has been at home and on campus is immediately visible within one day.
And have you seen that take its effect on their grades as well?
Absolutely. The amount of interventions and support, the teachers are working countless hours to do whatever they can to get students to make up work and recommit to their education.
That's great. Thank you.
Dr. Tricala, how many students do you anticipate having this summer?
We hope to have up to 250 students out of 1,035 total.
Really?
We had 110 last year in summer. We were one of the few schools that did in-person summer school last year.
And is the 250 that you're hoping for, would that take care of the amount of kids that need the special attention?
That will include some students who don't necessarily need it, but will benefit from doing it. We think about 75% of those who absolutely need it will. Unfortunately, many of the students that need it the most, part of it is, parents stepping up to the plate and being fully involved in their education, and we're really pushing as hard as we can through student success coordinators.
Is there anything we can do as a governing board, as your school board? Is there anything we can do to help you by writing a letter, by doing anything?
Absolutely.
To encourage those families to send their children to this summer program so that they'll be able to be better equipped to achieve next year.
Absolutely. And Mr. Watson and I recently spoke about that. He actually sat in on a meeting with me once, and it made a huge difference in this child's life to get him back to campus. And as we move forward, I think that's going to be an important part of reminding our families they chose excellence, and their commitment is a big part of that.
Because my understanding is there won't be a choice come August.
It's not so much about coming in, it's about following through with those at-home responsibilities, that the homework, the instructional programming, and things of that nature.
Well, I want you to think about what what we can do as a school board for you.
Absolutely.
To assist you with it. And if there's some kind of communication that we need to put out, we'll be more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, and if I remembered, you said you had a student.
Well, Leah, I was acknowledging Leah. I was saying I usually would bring one up, but I wanted to talk about summer learning today.
Well, I think everything that's going on is very exciting.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening.
And next, we have an update for the very first time from our new principal, Dr. Jeffrey McKee from Don Sofer High School.
Thank you. It's definitely a great honor to be with you all, and a great honor to be the new principal at Don Sofer High School. It's been quite amazing to get to know the students in my 3 days that I've been there.
So you know all of them perfectly.
I've met so many, and yeah, I'm getting there. But I'll tell you one thing. A notorious and fabulous South Florida educator told me that these are the most wonderful students in the world that she's encountered, Mayor Weissman. And everything I've encountered so far as the interactions and observations, I agree 100%. The parents as well. I mean, it doesn't happen that kids are as articulate, empowered, bright, determined, as you saw in their presentation tonight, without tremendous support from the homes. And my very first meeting was with the PTC. It was a 4-hour meeting, and every one of the women involved were absolutely dead on, spot on, as far as knowing what will help to empower their students for great things beyond high school. So we're working on all of those initiatives. Tomorrow I get to meet with the student leaders. We have a meeting set up after testing, and I'm looking forward to that. But again, it's been a fabulous experience. I hope Leah is going to join our crew at some point, right? That's the plan? Awesome, thank you. And Gabby, you were talking about how you can give back. I have a great idea. You could come work at the high school after you graduate from Columbia. We'd love to have you. So, and Representative Geller is going to be on our commission to help get a lot of students the Silver Knight Awards. So he said he was a judge. I heard that too. So we got a lot of empowerment in this room and beyond. I do want to say your fingerprints are everywhere. I don't get through an hour of conversations about the great things happening at Aventura High without hearing from at least several parents or students about the support they've gotten from you all. So thank you so much for that. It's absolutely amazing. Great things are happening. The testing is going well, we believe. We'll know for sure when we get the results. But one thing that is really remarkable, and probably the highest percent of sophomores, I would say, in the world, as far as I know, and I've had a lot of experience with the University of Cambridge, they have a mastery-based diploma, and it looks like we're going to have over 30% of our sophomores. Usually it's a diploma that's not earned until senior year, but over 30% of our sophomores will have earned this diploma by the time we get results back from Cambridge, which is spectacular. It's 100% Bright Future Scholarship, already guaranteed, conclusion of sophomore year, preferred admission, and lots of great honors. So I congratulate the staff and all the students who have earned that. And yeah, we'll keep doing our best. My challenge is going to be, when I know how hard you have been working on behalf of the school and the students and how hard they work for each other in the community, is to say I'm going to be challenged to do the same and do my best to serve on that same level. So thank you all again so much for this opportunity.
1 minute, Principal. 1 minute, Commissioner Narodsky.
Just very quickly, wanted to welcome you. We haven't met Mark Narodsky, but I guess the message from us, and I think I speak on everybody's behalf here, is whatever you need, we're committed to the excellent school. I know that it's tough. You're coming in at this point, but literally what you need, get it to the manager, he'll get it to us. It's 100% support. So don't think twice coming to us, and we wish you luck.
I appreciate that. I know you mean it, and I have a growing list. So I'm sure they're going to help me expand it a bit tomorrow, but I believe we're meeting on the 17th, and definitely I'll share some needs. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Narodsky, you're probably one of the few people in the room that can see eye to eye with our new principal.
6'4"?
6'6".
Close. Close.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, but I got somebody who left. All right, would any member of the commission like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Right on to it. But I'm also going to read something to our attorney. Matters included under the consent agenda are self-explanatory and not expected to require discussion or review. I'm going to humbly request that if an item hasn't been reviewed in a workshop with the commission, that it not be placed on a consent agenda. We have no way of knowing about these items without having them workshopped. So since it's in black and white that it's matters that are self-explanatory, in the future, I'm going to ask either review them or hold them to be regular items so that we may have the opportunity to discuss them. With that said, is there anyone that would like to remove an item from the consent? Okay. Can I have a motion for the approval? Motion. Made by Commissioner
second
Shelley, seconded by Commissioner Narodsky. I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narodsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the zoning hearing and the quasi-judicial public hearing. I'm going to request that the attorney read the procedures for the quasi-judicial hearing and read the resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening we have only one quasi-judicial item, and that is item number 6. For a quasi-judicial item, testimony will be received from any members of the public who desire to speak, as well as the city staff and applicant. After I read, the quasi-judicial statement is printed on page 2 of the agenda and is incorporated into the record. After I read the title of the resolution for the one item that is quasi-judicial this evening, the city clerk will administer the oath to any persons offering testimony. This item 6 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, granting conditional use approval to permit an arcade in the Aventura Mall located at 19501 Biscayne Boulevard, tenant space 431, and providing for conditions of approval and providing for an effective date.
Can I request that the city clerk swear in anyone wishing to offer testimony on item 6?
All right, if you're going to be providing testimony on this item, I need you to be sworn in at this time. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Can I please have a motion for approval of the resolution? Made by Commissioner Evans. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Made by Commissioner Narodsky. I'm going to request Community Development Director Kevin Klopp to present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Kevin Klopp, Community Development Director. This application is for conditional use approval from the City Commission to open an arcade in the Aventura Mall. An arcade is considered commercial recreation, just like a movie theater, a pool hall, or bowling alley. Commercial recreation is, according to the code, a conditional use in the B2 zone. Conditional uses require Commission approval. The code sets forth 7 criteria to be considered when a conditional use is proposed. The staff report you've received lists the criteria verbatim and provides an analysis of each one. I'm going to quickly summarize 6 out of the 7 criteria for you. First, consistency with a comprehensive plan. Second, consistency with the character of the immediate neighborhood. Third, infrastructure availability. Fourth, ingress and egress. Fifth, surrounding property development impacts. And sixth, visual impacts. As proposed, a tenant inside of the mall, there is no concern with the first 6 criteria. The final requirement says that the use cannot be detrimental to public safety. After discussing the proposed arcade with the Chief of Police, the City Attorney, and the City Manager, staff has recommended 5 conditions be placed upon the applicant to assure public safety. The recommended conditions are listed verbatim in the staff report and the associated resolution. In summary, the conditions are limited hours of operation. If there are 3 problems in 30 days, the city manager can bring back the approval to the City Commission for reconsideration. And please note that it is the city manager. In one place, I did in the report, it lists this chief of police by mistake. It would be the city manager that could bring it back for your consideration. A third condition would be no esports or video game tournaments. No esports or video game tournaments. So this is something that apparently attracts crowds to arcades. They have esports nights or video game tournaments, and they're not going to do those things. And the fourth condition is children under 12 must be accompanied by an adult. And finally, this approval would be non-transferable. That concludes my report. It is a positive recommendation with those 5 conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Klopp? Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Shelley.
Explain a little bit about esports, and you said it's not going to be, what type of arcade is this? It's not going to be the old pinball machines, obviously. There are, I'm assuming, new electronic games. Can you explain a little about what that is and what crowd does it attract?
From my understanding from the applicant, their target crowd is the under 12. It is the young children that would be there with their parents at the mall, and the parents bring them there for a little bit of relief and entertainment. It is video games like children play at home. When we talk about esports and the tournaments, it's the more mature games that teenagers, high schoolers, young adults play, and they can play it virtually across the world. And they, instead of staying at home, they will gather for these esports tournaments, and that is attracting an older crowd. This is a younger crowd. It's still the video games, it's still the virtual reality games, but it is targeted towards true children.
Right. And one of the restrictions you said, and I didn't realize it was 30 days, that if there's 3 complaints within 30 days, and I would like to have you discuss that with the applicant. I think if it was 3 complaints within 90 days is more realistic, because to me, I don't know how the other store owners feel about this. I have no idea who's going to be attracted, but if it's 12 and under and you have to have parents, unfortunately, from our past experience, parents don't always accompany, or they'll drop the kid off, they bring them in, then they go shopping and let the kids play. I'd be concerned about what is going to happen with kids in a place like this in the middle of a mall, especially at times with what we're experiencing right now. So I'm not comfortable with the concept to begin with, but I'm more uncomfortable with the fact that if the likelihood is that there's going to be complaints, I'd like to see that time frame expanded so we have more leverage in terms of our results. But more importantly, I'd like to know what it means to say 3 problems. What is a problem considered? Is that a police call? Is that a theft? Is that a robbery? Is it a riot? I mean, let's be more specific.
It would be a call for service.
Okay.
Call for service, somebody has determined there's a problem. And I think that's why the 30 days was considered, because you can get a call for service for really things that might not be considered a problem. So giving them 3 and 30 days. But if you define the problem more strictly, that there's a robbery, attempted violence,
What you're saying,
like
the
that, then you would
problem
want to
would be if the police are called, that's considered a call. That's a problem.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lamon?
So this is more of a, like, similar, I would equate it to a Chuck E. Cheese type of institution. No?
Chuck E. Cheese is a little different because that is a restaurant.
Without the
primary
restaurant, but
business,
the
whereas
game types.
The game types would be Chuck E. Cheese, like
I'm
yes.
looking at the little
website.
machines and all of that, and it's more of like the machines that you get tickets and then you get a prize type of thing, correct? So that's,
The applicant is here and might be able to answer that more.
so it's a Chuck E. Cheese type of, without the restaurant. That's kind of what I'm envisioning if you're talking about a younger audience. But is there games for older audiences too?
My understanding is there are some games for older audiences. We can let the applicant,
Okay.
if you'd like, I can
When they're finished
step aside.
talking to you. Mr. Klopp, when they're finished talking to you, then the applicant, he knows the role
Very
well. But right now, it's your report. Commissioner, Vice Mayor, Dr. Linda Marks.
Exactly where in the mall will this be located?
It's my understanding it's the old Disney store. If that
It's the old
identifies
Disney
the
store
location.
on the second floor?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No, I'm just.
On the first floor?
You have the tenant space. I'm not as familiar with where the tenant spaces are.
I'll wait for Mickey to, okay, so I'm going to ask that question of Mickey.
It's the bottom floor,
I-
first floor,
It's the first.
right next to J.C. Penney with the little outdoor
Right by
playground.
JCPenney?
Where the little kid playground
Yeah,
used to be.
yeah.
Where the,
So it's by
You have-
JCPenney?
yes.
We have images.
Okay. And I don't know if this question is for you or this question is for the attorney. So there's language in here that children 12 and under must be accompanied by a parent. With all due respect, how does the owner plan to enforce that? Children 12 and under don't have driver's licenses, they don't have state IDs. So how are we writing something in here that, at least to me, looks like it's not enforceable? Is that a question for you or for the attorney?
Well, I would say how they intend to enforce it is a question for them. How we would intend to enforce it would probably associate with the other concern if there are 3 or more problems, because we would receive complaints or concerns that there are unattended children, and we would have to investigate and determine if that is indeed occurring.
Right. I think I'm going to wait to ask these questions of the attorney, but I also want to mention something that Commissioner Shelley mentioned. With your recommendation of doing 90 days instead of 30 days, you're making it less restrictive. Is that your intention?
No, on the contrary, I think it's to have 3 in 1 month, to me, may not be likely, but to get 3 in 90 days is more likely. And if that's the case, then it's a potential problem. My fear is that getting 3 in a month seems a lot, and it may not be. But if given a 90-day period, you had the same 3, I think it's more tolerable to us that we could do something about it, and it would probably happen if there's going to be a problem. but the likelihood of 3 in a month is less apt to happen than 3 in 90 days. And if it's 3 in 90 days, I would like to see, I'd like to know what our
So let me see
abilities are.
if I hear. The 3 in 90 days is the 3
In 90 days.
but it was 3 in 30 days.
Correct.
Okay, because you think that might not happen, 3 in 30 or a total of 3 within 90.
Correct.
One, not making it right. Let's
One
make sure.
or the other, or one and or
Right.
the
I
other.
just want to give us more leeway and the more likelihood if it's going to happen.
Because if we had 2 in a month, and then the next week, we
Nothing.
get the third, and then
That's-
nothing for a
it's
few
over.
weeks, it
That's
gives,
what I'm
but,
That would be
There would be a
in 90
language
days or less.
modification.
Correct.
Yes.
yeah, some language modification.
And I'd like to have more specifics as to what our ability to do something about that would be, because right now it's very ambiguous as to, even so it happens and there's 3 calls, what can we do about it? What are our options? And I'd like to know more about that.
Okay, I will ask Commissioner Evans, because he's been waiting for a while, and then we'll let them get back. You've asked the question, I'm sure we'll get answers.
I had a question about the more sophisticated games. In some circumstances, there is some gambling involved. Are we going to make sure that's discouraged? I'm talking about the more sophisticated, when you've got 2 skilled players playing against one another and other people are gambling on it. I would hope that we wouldn't have that.
The games will have to follow statutes, and gambling would not be permitted.
Right, okay. It may not be official, but I've heard of many instances of that, so.
Mayor, it's Ron back here.
All right, but I've got Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
I've got Commissioner Friedland that was up there with her hand up. But now the picture's not. Commissioner Friedland, I think you wanted to say something?
I did, but I think most of it was already covered. I was explaining I knew where the old Disney store was, and that's actually next to the young playground area. And I think, listen, if the tenant provides security, it's a tenant and it's the mall's decision. I think it could be a positive thing if it's for younger children, and that's the atmosphere we're looking at. We're not looking at a Dave & Buster's with alcohol and rowdy crowds, but if the tenant and the mall kind of put in some restrictions of security, I think it could be a positive thing, especially in summertime with children needing other venues and outlets. So I'm looking at the positive side while we all definitely have our hesitations on the flip side of it.
Okay. Commissioner West?
Mayor, that's okay.
Manager?
Mayor, I just wanted to answer Vice Mayor Marks's concerns about who would be looking at the possibility of children being without parents. I know Chief Begis is here, and I see Mike out there. We have a complement of police officers at the mall that patrol the whole mall on a regular basis, and that definitely be one of the spots they would, walk by and look in and peruse, especially in the beginning, to make sure that that kind of stuff didn't happen. Just to let you know.
May I speak? May I?
Sure.
I think what you're hearing, Kevin, is a great deal of concern on the commission about safety and monitoring. My concern about the 12-year-old is what happens when it's the 13-year-old. And the mall, a number of years back, had to make some decisions about movies on the weekends and what age student would be allowed to go, and it was a lot older than 12. My good feelings are that everything that the mall does, they do well, and they're well aware that the negatives, if not handled appropriately, will come back to be more detrimental for them than for us. That gives me a great deal of confidence in knowing how much faith and how much store they put in safety. And I would be very surprised if there wasn't a full-time employee there monitoring the wherewithal that goes on in that arcade. But I think that 12-year-old, there's nothing magic about a 12-year-old. Okay, there's nothing. A 13 or a 14-year-old can get into the same kind of trouble without parent supervision. So I'm not sure how we got to the number of 12. And because of their past history, I probably will be supportive of it. And after we talk to the applicant, I would want them to take back generally. The only concerns here are concerns of safety, is what really I've heard of, concerns of safety. And I think we're all we have heightened awareness of safety and those situations today. So I think they've asked their questions of you. I'm going to ask the Yep, go on, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just one quick, that I would want to see in this, not that we don't have great presence in the mall, I would want to have a requirement in their lease or in their contract, whatever it's going to be, that they do have full-time security at all times. Because even so, we have patrols all over I think that person should be checking age in whatever manner. They have to make sure that family is with them or parents are with them. So I would not want to make it the responsibility of the police department to check these things, but I would like to see it the responsibility of the business, as would a bar be. They check ID when people come in, whatever. I would want to see somebody there that's full-time for security purposes in the establishment.
I would agree, but I'm also going to say it's going to be very hard to know who a 12-year-old is and who a 13-year-old is.
But
if we could hear from the applicant.
Good evening.
Hi, Mickey.
Hey, Mickey.
I've been itching to get up here. Thank you all. Mickey Marrero from law firm Burkhow, Riddell, Fernandez, Larkin, and Tappan is here on behalf of Arcade Zone. The owner, Mario Khan, is there in the audience. He'll say a few words in a moment. We have a lot of supporters, his family, some Aventura residents that would like to see this open. I had a presentation, but before I even get into that, a lot of questions I want to answer right away that you've all asked. First of all, this is absolutely, I was there Friday. And just so you all know a little bit of background, I got a call from Mario, sort of ecstatic when he found out he had the lease with the mall. He was, the place is furnished. I mean, he was about to open in May and found out that he couldn't. There was a confusion. The mall thought he could go right in. They contacted me. I spoke to Kevin, and we obviously worked through getting conditions in place that the city hopefully is comfortable with. And, in understanding the use and having kids that are 14 and 8, myself, a 9-month-old, you'll definitely know she's not 12. But I understand this pretty well, going to these type of places pretty regularly. It is, first of all, this will be his 4th location in South Florida. Over the course of his business, he's had exactly 0 problems. We're happy to agree to 90 days. We're absolutely confident that you'll be very happy with this use. I was there on Friday. I got a personal tour of an unopened but fully furnished arcade zone. I think the word arcade is a little bit of a misnomer. It really is, as Commissioner Lamb mentioned, I don't want to use Chuck E. Cheese as an example because there's a certain connotation with that, but it really is for my 8-year-old, 9-year-old. It's not really for my 14-year-old. You asked a question about esports. I've been to the mall, to the Aventura Mall, with my 14-year-old for an esports tournament. It was at the Microsoft store because they sponsor Fortnite. For those of you that know what Fortnite is, I'm sorry. I went to one esports tournament. I will not go to a second. I understand why the condition is there. That is not what Mr. Khan's business is at all. His is more little kids. They play these little fun little games meant for the under 10 crowd. They win little prizes, stuffed animals. My 14-year-old will not be caught dead there. I'll try to drag him there with Mario, but it's really for the younger kids. All these conditions are in place. I don't think you'll have a problem. Mario's going to have 8. And as to security, it's not a bar. It's not a Dave & Buster's with alcohol. I've been to Dave & Buster's. I get why you need security there. This is a 4,000 square foot little space. It's like the size of a sunglass hut. When you put the machines in, there's not a lot of room. To have a police presence there kind of makes it a different vibe. There's going to be 8 employees there working at peak hours. Of the total employees that he has, 80% are Aventura residents. This is put specifically in a place where there's already a kind of a kid zone. It's really meant for the younger kids. This is not, when I think of when I was a teenager, loitering around an arcade with like one 17-year-old employee kind of giving out coins, this is not that. This is really for little kids and their families. I understand there's going to be a little bit of difficulties. This guy's 13. You can't buy the cards on your own. You can't, without a credit card, you can't go in there. And Commissioner Evans, to your concern, unless you want, unless you know people that gamble on 8-year-olds playing video games, I don't think we have a problem here. It's just not that type of thing. If all goes well tonight, his grand opening will be on Saturday. Again, he's got a lease, he's furnished. I invite you all to go. I think you'll be very, very happily surprised with what you see. It's really meant for little kids. It's something that I know the mall's excited about because they want, it's really meant for families. They don't want problems. More than anybody, the mall does not want problems. This is not a problem. And, the 90 days, if there is calls for service, if there are issues, we'll be back here. The manager will absolutely be calling my cell phone and we'll deal with it. But we don't think that'll ever happen. And I'd like him to come up because he's very passionate. He loves what he does. He loves his business. I actually found out 2 weeks ago on Facebook, his son plays soccer in the same academy as my son. He was already my client, didn't realize it. But, we've gotten to know him. He's a great guy. He's really passionate. I'd like him to say a few words, and then we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good night, everybody, commissioners, mayor, vice mayor. It's an honor for me to be in front of you today after having listened the presentation about this opportunity that my company has to offer to the citizens and visitors of this important city. More than 7 years ago, when I moved with my family to Florida, looking for new business opportunities, I always had a priority to get involved in an industry that at some point could be attractive to my children. That dream, I could develop it over time, and not long ago became a reality when I opened my first business related to family entertainment in shopping centers in cities in Florida. Aventura Mall has always been a goal for me. However, the time was not right and the circumstances were not given to be able to offer an establishment that meets the requirements of such an important mall. I spent time, and thanks to a non-stop work and surrounding myself with the right people in the family entertainment industry, Arcade Zone was born in October 2019 in the city of Pembroke Pines. We opened our doors with the clear objective of offering the most complete concept of healthy, secure, and fun in a family environment with the highest quality standard. Unfortunately, after the first location, the opportunities continued to arrive, knocking my doors. We all know what happened in 2020, and the company, instead of stopping, we continued to transform with the new reality, and the search for opportunities became another priority. Our customers constantly thank us that we can give them and their families a time of joy and relaxation in these difficult times when we reopen. Today, I want to thank first to Turnberry Properties for giving me the opportunity to belong to such a prestigious mall, trusting my company and myself without even being a national brand yet. Okay? Supporting local businesses is a very important virtue. Of course, to the city of Aventura for giving me the opportunity to offer to his inhabitants a concept so needed today. Employ people and contribute to the economy of the city. To the City Development Office for being attentive to our project and handling it with the highest professionalism that this deserves. Mickey Marrero, without your guidance, this would not have been possible. Jonathan, one of my partners for the machines, for the countless hours of planning to put together such an amazing store. The most important, my family who are here present, which is undoubtedly the reason why this has been created, is for them and the future generations that will surely come. Vicky and Abraham, this is the proof that you must never give up your dreams. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody has any questions?
Thank you. Do any of the members of the commission, Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yeah, Mickey, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that we couldn't get answered, before. So in terms of, I understand you have 8 employees there at all times, is that correct?
No.
No.
At peak times, there's in the very early morning,
Yeah, when it's not peak time, weekdays, early mornings, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 employees.
when kids are in school,
8 employees during peak time,
weekends, summer.
okay? 2 employees in non-peak times.
Right, during the weekdays, during the school year, it's going to be pretty slow, so, yeah.
Okay, all right. And in your other arcades that you already have, is this one similar in terms of the types of games and everything that you have?
Exactly the same of the one in Pembroke Pines and Coral Springs.
Okay, so can you tell me, please, generally speaking, are there older children, older than 12, that come to the arcades that you currently have?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, okay. And are there certain times when the older children tend to be there?
Sorry, again?
Are there certain hours when you find the older children are there versus the younger children?
After school,
After school is older or younger?
both.
Both. What about in the evenings? 7, 8?
Well, we work with the mall hours, so we don't open on the evening.
Right, but, well, what I read is you're going to be open until 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, the same mall hours.
Right. So in your other malls, in the other areas, that 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock time, is that still 12 and under, or are those more older?
Yeah, the younger people, I don't think the parents in school days are gonna take them, take them at nights. Yeah, there is even teenagers or even, adults that also play the games. It's an arcade.
So have you had what have you learned maybe in the other malls that you're in terms of the teenagers? What have you learned that you might do differently here to avoid any issues that might come up?
Well, the first location was open almost 2 years ago, and we never encountered any issue at all, like zero. They just come to have fun. Fun starts here is my slogan, and everybody comes to win tickets and get a prize. Maybe a little teenagers couple that is dating is the perfect place for them to go and win a plush for the girl. So that's when maybe they come. A date night for this type of older audience this is the perfect place. It's safe, and they come just to play 30 minutes, 1 hour games.
Have you had any problems in your other malls?
Never, zero.
Never. Okay. All right. Then let me also ask you, again, getting back to this rule, if we're approving a rule, I don't understand approving any rule that you can't enforce. So I want to understand, just in my own head, how can you enforce and know that these kids are 12 and under?
The way I see it is a guideline. Like with everything, when you walk into a theater, it's an R movie, 17. Sometimes maybe a 16-year-old has a beard and he gets in. It's a guideline, I think is what it is. And I think his staff is experienced. Obviously, there may be someone that's 11 that looks 14, and there may be a 14-year-old, like my son, until about a year ago, that looked like he was 10. But I think what it does is it provides a guideline. I mean, kids don't have IDs, rarely.
That's the point.
So, but I think it just makes it so that he's got to have. If you're 13, you're probably going to ask for a parent.
Yeah, no. Let me answer it very straight. Any kid comes with cash or credit card to buy an arcade card. Any. So always we sell the cards to the adults. Always. And the only reason for that is because the children under 14 years old, they're not alone in the malls. So we never encounter that problem because the parents are the ones that buy the cards. The kids cannot come to the counter with cash and buy a card. My employees will not sell it, and never happened before. And the teenagers that comes with their dates or with their friends, of course, it's noticeable that they are not 12 years old. They are older than 14, 15, 16, or even older. So that's how we can manage the 12.
It's not an exact science. It's a generalization, is what you're saying.
It's a range and it's a guideline. I think that's really fair. To say we're going to ID 12-year-olds, that doesn't make sense.
Impossible.
He's basically, his employees, when it's busy, and there are 8 people there, and he's got experienced people that know the area, 80% are residents of the city. I was happy to hear that on Friday. They're going to have a good sense. And like I said, you've got a built-in protection here that almost very few CUPs have, that if there are problems, and it's a pretty wide net of problems, we'll be back here before you, and he's at risk of losing this. So it's important for the mall and important for him to make sure that it's run in a very responsible manner.
I just don't want to approve a rule that you all can't enforce. Remember, these commissions change all the time. And so then you're going to have the next commission who's going to say, we want proof. Every single kid that comes in has to have a picture ID from their school showing what grade or whatever. So I'm looking more in a general capacity in terms of it's something that can't be enforced, really, and the language is saying it can, so I don't know. Meaning, it's a little bit risky on the owner's part.
I'm happy to defer to David. If you want to make it something, the applicant shall make best efforts to ensure, something like that, I'm happy to have that in there. Again, we're comfortable with it because it does show a guideline. We're agreeing to something, where we're going to make an effort to
It's
make
just
sure that
looking
adults are present.
long-term. Once you agree to that something, then you're stuck with that something. So I don't know if maybe the commission wants to consider, because it's impossible to verify whether someone's 12 or not.
I'm not sure. Let me ask a question to our students. Do you, when you were at ACES or Waterways or wherever, did you have student IDs? No, but you had an ID, so it would have said Waterways K-8, or it would say ACES K-8. I'm going to guess today, every school, first grade, they have it because they use it for lunch and for everything, for everything else. So there would be an ID. It wouldn't necessarily give an age, but it gives you, a place that they go to school. I don't want to make this more than, honestly, than it has to be. And as I said before,
Right.
and
With little kids.
Right.
It's really little kids.
Yeah, if it's
Big
little
kids, you're
kid-
going to have trouble anyway. So meaning,
my concerns are,
they're not behaving.
yes.
Right?
No, my concerns are the only concern I have is safety. That's it. And we all know if you're 7 or 8 years old and the 13 and 14-year-olds are there, you may not get your time at the machine because older kids, I also would have concerns. If this is a dating place and you're talking about 16 and 17-year-olds, and this is for little kids, you're telling me that, 6 and 7, I'm not sure that it's a good mix, but you know what? It's not my problem. It's not my problem. I have every confidence that there is so much at stake here in wanting to get it right, that it will be done right. I think you've heard, we all have the same kind of concerns, and for whatever the reason, the world is seeming to get more out of control every day. So giving people a good place to be that's safe and out of harm's way, I can recognize. But as Vice Mayor said, the devil's in the details. Let me ask you, Mickey, was the 12 the mall's rule? Was the 12 our rule?
No, we just agreed. It was something suggested that we thought was fine.
Oh, okay. Because I just don't know what's magic about that number.
And there was no magic about it. It really came about two ways. One, a conversation I had with the chief of police and research that I did on malls and what age restrictions they had, and the most frequent age that they wanted children to be under some supervision was 12 and under. So I said, if that's what other malls have come up with, I thought that was the right one to suggest here.
So, Mickey, let me ask you, with the movie theaters, does it still say 18 and under have to be accompanied by their parents at the mall?
I don't know that for sure.
I think it's after a certain time in the night.
After 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but it goes much later, like the
Well,
movies
6
are.
o'clock's not late. And it's,
No, I'm saying the movies are open until much
Yeah.
later.
Right, but they have to be
I believe
accompanied,
so. I believe that rule is still in place.
What?
I believe that rule is still in place.
I think the rule is still in
Yeah.
place, too. So you've got a mall with an age requirement for one thing. And am I right, when you go into the movies, walking to the theater itself, you go by what I would call an arcade. Anyway, there's lots of gaming machines there.
I was going to tell you, having been to the mall many, many times,
Yeah.
and having kids, like I said, in both age groups here, right? His place is really, and again, I know he's open to everyone, and somebody may go on a date and want to push the animal for their date, but it's really, I can tell you, it's meant for the
Little
younger
kids.
kids.
Good.
There is more arcades in the theater
Right.
for the older kids than in his place. You're going to be thrilled, I think, when you see it. And again, for better or worse, you're going to see me back here many times, I hope. Hopefully you don't have to see him because he's never going to be a problem. That's what I tell you.
Vice Mayor Marks.
Mayor, would it be possible to hear from our police chief?
Of course
See
it
if
would.
there are any concerns or recommendations?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner. I had the same concerns that initially when this arcade came in, when I heard the word arcade, myself and our staff was immediately put off and had the same concerns that you did. After speaking with Kevin and looking into the company and their facilities over at Pembroke and Coral Springs with 0 calls for service, I have no issues. It's geared towards younger kids. I think it'll be manageable. And really what's important is, and I agree, I think the 90-day is sufficient. If there's any issues over there, I can assure you, I can tell you right now, every store, every nook and cranny of the mall where there's an issue or a call for service, I'm aware of. And if having I wish we had a nuisance abatement clause in every business that we had, because it would give us so much more leeway. I think it's extremely reasonable. If there's going to be a problem there in 90 days with the calls for service, we'll know about it. I will make that known to the city manager, and I truly don't feel it'll be an issue with staff. So,
Okay. Commissioner Landman.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. We still have to open it, I guess, for public comment, but I'd like to call the question.
I have to open it for public comment.
But after you open it, I think we're ready to vote on it.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to address the commission on this item? Then I'm going to close the item for public comment, and since the question has been called, I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Mayor, just for clarification, is this including the addition to 90 days or less instead of 30?
Yes, our attorney's going to rework the numbers, 3 incidents within 30 or X number within 90.
90 days or less.
The motion for approval includes that 90-day amendment that was agreed to by the applicant. Thank you.
Because you agreed, no problem. Okay, fine. Then let's have the roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky is absent. The motion passes on second and final reading.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Thank you. And Saturday is his official grand opening. Please come if you can.
Wait, we're not cutting a ribbon?
We didn't know until just now that we'd have a ribbon to cut. So.
Okay.
Are you sending us an invite?
Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is item number 7, ordinance on first public reading. I'm going to request the city attorney to read the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, creating Article 9, fertilizer use of Chapter 30, Environment of the City Code of Ordinances, relating to the regulation of fertilizer application, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion for approval of the ordinance?
Motion.
Made by Commissioner Landman, seconded by Commissioner Evans. I'm going to request that the city manager review the item.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think I could get more exciting than arcades than fertilizer and pesticides. However, the county just recently passed an ordinance in April requiring and asking that all municipalities have on their books regulations that address fertilization, pesticides, how much you use them, when you use them, and especially if you're in close proximity to a watershed or a body of water. So this regulation, Article 9, would be included in our Chapter 30 to include when and how we use fertilizers. You'll be happy to know most of these regulations we already follow, that our companies follow these regulations, and we're very aware of how much and what we use on our fields. Most of the fertilization and work that we do is in the parks, so we're very careful and very, we keep that under a very watchful eye, so we don't get anybody sick from what we put on the ground.
Okay, does any member of the commission have any questions for the city manager? Vice Mayor Dr. Marks.
I just want to mention in this document that we've been given, and I know this came from Miami-Dade.
It started, yes.
Right, this is where the requirement came from. And it requires us to begin July 1?
In July, yes.
July 1. And it requires all of the landscapers to take a course. So I did have a conversation with our city manager because some of the smaller landscapers probably don't even know that they need to take a course, and yet it says that it's going to be enforced. But our city manager explained that there would be leeway and latitude in enforcement at the beginning for...
Yes, all of our landscapers are trained and licensed. Most of them will follow these regulations without an issue. If we find somebody that's either not licensed or not following that, we would enforce that with code.
Right, but we're going to give them a chance to...
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
it won't be like your registration's...
Right,
We
right.
give you a few days.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Let me open the item for public comment. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to address the commission on this item? Seeing is there none, I'll close it for public comment, and I'll ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky is absent. Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. The next order of business is item number 8, ordinances, second reading. I'm going to request that the city attorney read the ordinance. A.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Commission in its capacity as the Aventura City of Excellence School, ACES, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending ordinance number 2020-04, which ordinance adopted a charter school operating and capital budget for the Aventura City of Excellence School for fiscal year 2020-2021, July 1 through June 30th, by revising the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget document as outlined in Exhibit A, attached hereto, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this ordinance and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for the approval of the ordinance? Motion made by Commissioner Shelley, seconded by Commissioner Landman. I'm going to request that the city manager review the item, remembering that this is second reading.
Thank you, Mayor. As it stated, it's the year-end budget amendment for ACES in the amount of $314,694. It basically shows expenses that we had from COVID and shows the offsetting revenues that we receive from grants from the state and from the federal government. Basically, it went into technology, tutoring, mental health counselors, and teachers' laptops.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, then let me open it to the public. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this? I'm going to close it for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland? Commissioner
Yes.
Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky is absent. Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman?
Yes.
Motion passes on second and final reading.
Thank you. Also on second and final reading, we have item B. I'll request that the city attorney read the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the City Commission in its capacity as the governing board for Don Sofa Aventura High School. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending ordinance number 2020-05, which ordinance adopted the Don Sofa Aventura High School Budget Fund 191 for fiscal year 2020-2021, July 1 through June 30th, by revising the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget document as outlined in Exhibit A attached hereto, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to carry out the aims of this ordinance and providing for an effective date.
Can I have a motion for approval of the ordinance made by Commissioner Shelley, seconded by Commissioner Evans? I'm going to ask the city manager to review the item.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, similar to ACES, this is a Don Sofa year-end budget amendment in the amount of $428,168. It shows revenues of $401,000 for grant funding and another $173,000 for AP and Cambridge testing for the students that did very well. Offsetting adjustments for salary compensation for teachers, professional services, and other lines in the budget that were either over or under for revenues or expenses.
Thank you. Do any members of the commission have any questions for the city manager? Anyone from the public wish to address us on this? I'm going to close the item for public comment and ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky is absent. Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman.
Yes.
Motion passes on second and final reading.
Thank you. I'm going to request that the city attorney read the ordinance marked as C.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending the City of Aventura Comprehensive Plan by amending Objective 2, Policy 2.2 of the Land Use Goal in the Future Land Use Element to add to the business and office land use category residential uses with density not exceeding 57 dwelling units per acre in the MO Medical Office District zoning category and contiguous business and office use designated lands, and permit an increased floor area ratio for developments that dedicate certain lands to the city for public road purposes and construct the road at the owner's or developer's expense, both subject to conditional use approval, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the comprehensive plan, authorizing transmittal, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for approval of the ordinance made by Commissioner Evans, seconded by Vice Mayor Marks? I'm going to request that our Community Development Director, Kevin Klopp, please present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, good evening, Mayor and Commission. Kevin Klopp, Community Development Director. This comprehensive plan amendment is one of several commission-associated approvals that would be necessary for the proposed North District Development Plan, which was presented to the City Commission this past March. This specific application requesting an amendment to the city's comprehensive plan was presented to the City Commission at your April 6th, 2021 meeting. The ordinance was unanimously approved on first reading. The land use policy change allowing residential uses in the business and office land use category had to be sent to the state of Florida and other state agencies for review and comment. The city received supportive comments back from those agencies. The Florida Department of Economic Opportunity did request one clarification, which has been incorporated into the staff report and into the ordinance. The clarification explicitly includes the maximum density of 57 units per acre in policy rather than by reference. That was the one change that the state requested. If approved on second reading here tonight, the next steps in the process will be submission of a master site plan and a proposed development agreement. These items will come before the City Commission at subsequent public hearings. At the Mayor and Commission's pleasure, the detailed report from the previous reading of this ordinance can be incorporated by reference. Or if you would like, I'm prepared to make the full report again this evening if necessary. And of course, I would be happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Do any members of the commission have any questions for Mr. Klopp? No? Okay. Then I'm going to open the item for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to address us? Seeing as there's none, I'm closing it for public comment, and I will ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans? Yes. Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky is absent. Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks? And Mayor Weissman.
Yes.
Motion passes on second and final reading.
Thank you. I'm going to request that the city attorney read ordinance marked as item D.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Aventura, Florida, amending Chapter 31 Land Development Regulations of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Section 31-144 Business Zoning Districts, subsection A, Purpose, and Section 31-144, subsection F, Medical Office, MO District, to allow multifamily residential uses with a maximum of 57 dwelling units per acre and a maximum of 2.49 floor area ratio for developments that dedicate land to the city for public road purposes and construct the road at the owner's or developer's expense, subject to conditional use approval, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Can I please ask for a motion for approval of the ordinance made by Commissioner Evans, seconded by Commissioner Shelley? I'm going to request that the Community Development Director, Kevin Klopp, please present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This code amendment is one of several commission approvals associated with the proposed North District development that we just spoke about. It was presented in March. The specific application requests an amendment to the city's land development regulations was presented to the City Commission in April. The ordinance was unanimously approved on first reading. The LDR is associated with and dependent upon the comprehensive plan amendment that you've just approved. If approved on second reading, the same processes and additional public hearings will come before you. I am available to provide the detailed report that you heard in April, if necessary. Otherwise, I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any members of the commission have any questions for Mr. Klopp? Let me open the item for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Then I'm going to close the item for public comment, and I'm going to ask the clerk for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedland?
Yes.
Commissioner Landman?
Yes.
Commissioner Narosky is absent. Commissioner Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mayor Weissman. Motion passes on second and final reading.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda are resolutions, and we have none for tonight. So it brings us to reports. Do any members of the commission have anything they wish to report on at this point in time?
I just have a question.
1 second. Vice Mayor Marks, then Commissioner Shelley.
I'm clarification. I have a question to ask of the city attorney. At what point would I be able to do that?
It could be brought up as a report, or you want to
All right.
In other business, public
I can do
comment?
it
Yeah,
now.
you can do.
It's up to you.
I don't care.
Yeah, then could I?
Yeah, I don't care.
At our last commission hearing, there was an item that was brought up for the commission to approve, and we approved it subject to a letter of credit being placed and issued within a quick time period. Could you give us a report as to the status of that letter of credit for the project to do this site work?
I'll have to check with the Community Development Director and City Manager to see if that is requested yet. I haven't received it at this time.
Because I believe the approval on that, Mr. City Manager, was that we got a letter of credit to cover the cost of the improvements before the approval was given to them.
That is correct. I don't have it in place yet.
Could you get back to us on that? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Marks.
I just want to mention something about the Don Sofer High School that took place in the last several weeks. There was a compass dedication, and it was spearheaded by our appointed group, who I don't have the correct title for the foundation, and they did an absolutely magnificent job. And I think the children were very excited, and certainly the parents. And I just wanted to comment that they did a wonderful job. There was a lot of really good feeling in the room. It rained bitterly, so the outdoor event actually ended up indoors. However, in minutes, they moved everything inside. And I just wanted to compliment Cindy Orlinsky and her entire group because they did a wonderful job.
Anybody else? Any reports, anything for, okay. Now I open up our meeting for public comments, and I'm going to request the city attorney to review with the commission members the purpose of this item.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the City Commission's rules, This portion of the agenda is dedicated for the receipt of input, public comments, input from the public. However, and also in accordance with those rules, the city is not to, city commissioners are not to engage in any questions or discussion with the person submitting their public comment. Instead, they're here to listen to any public input, and if any follow-up action is necessary, it will subsequently be taken by the city manager.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Friedland's hand was up. Commissioner
Is it
Friedland?
Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that last week, the city introduced the freebie shuttle buses, and a few of the commissioners were there, and it was a wonderful event. And also, I have seen the buses, and I've ridden on the freebie buses, and I've received a lot of feedback from our community, and people are loving it, and it is a very nice community connecting transportation method that I think is being utilized, and I hope that we will be able to get a report back on how it's being used sooner than later. And I know that there's big requests to get them expanded. So do we know what the time frame is? Then we're going to get reports so we can know when we can expand possibly our pilot program.
The city manager will get back to you, or you want to?
At least 30 days to 60 days to have some kind of, because I'd also like to look at the bus schedule too.
I just wanted to let everyone know that riding on it was a great experience, and everyone I know has been using it, thinks it's a great experience, and they just, want to see more of them all over the city. So I think that was a great thing that we started. I hope everyone on the commission gets an opportunity to try it out as well.
Not so easy. Not so easy. It doesn't go to all areas of the city, and many of us cannot get it from our home. I think right now the city needs to advertise it and make sure people are aware of it, because unlike my good commissioner speaking, I know of no one who knows about it except a select group of people that put their children on it, and the rest of the community does not know it's available right now. So it's hard to do any kind of analysis when you just have 20 people that have been on it. But I wish it was available for me. I wanted to use it Saturday night, but it doesn't come to my part of the city. So maybe we can look at that, Mr. Manager. All right. Then again, I'm going to open it for public comment. Anybody wish to address the commission? Marge, come on. No, you got to come up and state your name and address for the record.
I'm the one that likes a microphone. I wish you all used them. My name is Marge Rosenblatt. I live at 19101 Mystic Point Drive in Aventura, and our residents are using the freebie like I knew they would. One woman wasn't happy. She was happy with freebie, but she wasn't happy that she had to carry her packages around the mall. So she has a car, and when she's going to shop, she'll use her car, but otherwise they like it very much. It's open to all 6 of our buildings are using it.
That's great. That's great. You're lucky. Anybody else? All right, then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion made, motion seconded. This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you all.